I'm sure we've all been in a position where somebody continues to push our buttons. We get emotional. We're human. It can't be helped. Say that the person in question continues their behavior despite the fact that you have already asked them to stop. What would you do? Tonight, Tully Blanchard asks himself that question. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Tyler Vance Rants. I am your host, Tyler Vance himself. It is May 19th, 1984. The major news coming out of the National Wrestling Alliance last week was the fact that the newcomer, the Masked Outlaw, upset NWA Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion Angelo Mosca Jr. to become that new champion. Captain Lou Albano made his second appearance on Piper's Pit alongside Rowdy Roddy Piper, and the duo discussed just how influential Captain Albano has been on his client's career in Cyndi Lauper. The Russian Bear Ivan Koloff and the Pride of the Carolinas Don Kernodle defeated the Briscoe brothers Jack and Jerry to become the new NWA World Tag Team Champions. As well, NWA Television Champion Tully Blanchard challenged Ricky Steamboat for the NWA United States Heavyweight Championship. Since Tully Blanchard is such a major focus lately, we're going to be tuning into the NWA's Worldwide Wrestling program first this week, where the television champion himself is on color commentary, along with Johnny Weaver and the returning David Crockett. The new Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion, the Masked Outlaw, takes on Keith Larsen in singles competition as the show begins, and not far away is the former Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion Angelo Mosca Jr., who's scouting the match out from the crowd. According to the commentary team, the Masked Outlaw is actually a former student of Dory Funk Jr., the same Dory Funk Jr. who has recently been suspended from the NWA due to failing to appear at a disciplinary hearing. Since he is suspended, Funk Jr. has sent his protege, the Masked Outlaw, to do his bidding. A backslide pin secures the victory for the Outlaw, who then gets drop-kicked for absolutely no reason by that loser Larsen. This prompts the Outlaw to retaliate in kind, and he absolutely takes it to Larsen. Angelo Mosca Jr. rushes to Keith Larsen's aid at this point, and all I have to say is, Angelo, if you'd been paying attention, you moron, you'd realize that Keith Larsen is the one that attacked the Masked Outlaw unjustifiably. You're telling me that you approve of this behavior? You're just like your father. Backstage, David Crockett is trying to interview his color commentary cohort, Tully Blanchard, and the reason I mention tries to is the fact that the other color commentator, Johnny Weaver, sticks his nose into the television champion's business yet again.
David, I would like to interview our non-wrestling NWA TV champion.
To my surprise, Tully Blanchard manages to keep his cool, answering Weaver's ridiculous questions, and says the reason that he has been on commentary so much lately...
Well, Mr. Weaver, and I use the frame reluctantly, I'm out here because of all the letters from the fans at home.
I'm one of them. The interview devolves into an argument as David Crockett frantically calls for a commercial break.
Just love it. Don't you just... We'll be back right after this, ladies and gentlemen.
You can't silence this, David. The people need to see what's going on here. The new NWA World Tag Team Champions, Don Kernodle and Ivan Koloff, take on the team of Dale Veasey and Bret Hart in tag team action next. As the match begins, Tully Blanchard professionally and politely asks his other cohorts on commentary to remain professional and simply focus on calling the action.
Well, gentlemen, that was a tremendous little thing that y'all just pulled on me. We're out here to announce, so if y'all would just stick to what's going on in the ring, I would greatly appreciate it.
Amen. The teamwork of the NWA World Tag Team Champions is, as always, unparalleled, especially when it concerns the teamwork level of their opponents. However, unfortunately for us on the audience spectrum, we can't even focus on the match due to the fact that Johnny Weaver continues to make passive-aggressive comments towards Tully Blanchard.
But you know, it's just like the Flair for the gold in '83 Starrcade. Flair wanted, he worked hard for it, he defeated Harley Race. Yeah, Flair at least wrestles hard, he puts it up.
Dale Veasey does show some promise, and we can notice it when Weaver finally realizes that there is a match going on in the ring and contains his own personal beliefs. Veasey does manage to get some offense in on the World Tag Team Champions. However, this is not a singles match. Kernodle and Koloff secure the win following their Cannon double team finisher. Vigilante Mosca Jr. is in singles competition next, and he is taking on Bob Brown. Angelo is still very much upset about his earlier encounter with the new NWA Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion, the Masked Outlaw. This anger is unleashed on Brown as the former Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion enters this ring with high velocity. Mosca Jr. keeps the pace quick throughout the entire match, employing backdrops, drop kicks, and even a monkey flip. A head scissors takedown from the corner by Angelo Mosca Jr. almost secures him the victory, but somehow Bob Brown is able to hold on. Angelo Mosca Jr. does manage to secure the win a few moments later following his crossbody from the corner. Bob Caudle is backstage next, and he has exotic Adrian Street along with his wife and valet, Miss Linda, ready for an interview next. Street tries to bumble and stumble his way through the interview.
You didn't show that on the TV.
Saying that the Boogie Woogie Man Jimmy Valiant's recent actions towards himself and Miss Linda are barbaric. Duh. Speak of the devil and he shall appear. Jimmy Valiant emerges, much to the dismay of the exotic one. Valiant refers to Adrian as Boy George before Street has had enough and absolutely decks the Boogie Woogie Maniac with a glove that's loaded with rocks.
Do you really want to hurt me? Hey, Boy George, let's get it on, Jack. Why you goof?
Miss Linda then takes her cue and covers Jimmy Valiant in makeup. Still, as I said before, it's an improvement. There is absolutely no competition for Dirty Dick Slater in his match against Jason Walker. Slater wins easily following a leg drop. Chief Wahoo McDaniel takes on Randy Barber in singles competition next.
He's got that chop loaded, doesn't he?
Strongest chop in wrestling today.
How would you know, Johnny? You've never been in the ring with a man like that.
Once again, Johnny Weaver continues to make jabs at Tully Blanchard while calling commentary while there's action going on in the ring.
We wouldn't know if you can defeat him or not. You'd never wrestle
He
with
backs
him.
off quick.
I've wrestled Wahoo McDaniel many times. Keep your commentary on the match, would you please?
The television champion is so fed up at this point, he actually asks David Crockett if he has to sit here and listen to this.
David, do I have to listen to this all week in and week out? Since you've been on vacation, Weaver's barbing me.
The whole situation devolves into chaos when Tully Blanchard pointedly demands, not asks, that Johnny Weaver stop pushing his buttons and focus on calling the action in the ring. Of course, you don't need a degree to figure out what happens next. The three men realize the error of their ways, apologize, and call the match peacefully. You'd only believe that if you were an idiot. I bet you don't even remember who's in the ring right now. It's Chief Wahoo McDaniel and Randy Barber. No, a commotion distracts from what is actually happening in the ring as Tully Blanchard and Johnny Weaver finally go at it.
Wahoo now. Hit. Hey, come on, guys.
Weaver is left laying, and Tully Blanchard is about to head off into the sunset when Chief Wahoo McDaniel takes a cue from his friend King Kong Angelo Mosca Sr. and his vigilante behavior, going to check on Johnny Weaver. So the television champion uses his physical belt to attack the Chief. Then, once his point has been proven, Tully Blanchard finally leaves. You can only push a man so far. Rising to his feet, David Crockett gets a word with Chief Wahoo McDaniel, who is incredibly angry. During his rant against Tully Blanchard, the Chief destroys the television champion's sunglasses, which were left behind during the scuffle. Oh, and in case anybody was wondering, Chief Wahoo McDaniel did win the match following a chop on Randy Barber. Worldwide Wrestling's main event sees Rufus Freight Train Jones take on Barry Orton in one-on-one competition. Surprisingly, Jones actually employs some basic wrestling moves in this match. I do mean basic. They're headlocks, hip tosses. That's not important. What's important is that the freight train is trying. Orton falls fast to the freight train's headbutt before we head backstage to finish the episode with some interviews. First up is David Crockett, and he has his guest at this time, the former NWA United States Heavyweight Champion, Dirty Dick Slater. Slater questions where Ricky Steamboat has gone since winning the United States Heavyweight Championship, inferring that he may have gone into hiding. Which wouldn't surprise me. I mean, you remember the retirement? Dick Slater reaffirms that both Ricky Steamboat and his other longtime rival, the Nature Boy Ric Flair, are both in serious trouble, as Slater is more focused than ever, and he's going to be targeting both of them. David Crockett then brings out the NWA World Tag Team Champions, the Pride of the Carolinas, Don Kernodle, as well as the Russian Bear, Ivan Koloff, and they take the opportunity to absolutely congratulate the NWA Television Champion, Tully Blanchard, on his actions in shutting up Johnny Weaver.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate this Tully Blanchard winning TV belt and what he did to Weaver and Wahoo McDaniel. Shut their big mouths up.
Well said, Mr. Koloff. The Russian Bear then goes on to say that when it comes to the tag team division in the NWA, there is absolutely no competition for him and Don Kernodle. But this doesn't mean that they're going to be taking the challengers for their belts lightly. No, this is why they are the champions, because they are always ready. Now with NWA Worldwide Wrestling at an end, it's time to tune into the World Wrestling Federation and see what's happening on its flagship show, Championship Wrestling. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff takes on Mr. Italy Salvatore Bellomo as Championship Wrestling gets underway, while Mean Gene Okerlund and Vince McMahon call commentary. Bellomo starts things off by managing to get under the skin of Paul Orndorff with his evasive maneuvers and quick throws. However, from there, Salvatore fails to pin Orndorff and gets a fist in his face for his efforts. From that point on, Mr. Wonderful remains firmly in control. Following a stiff clothesline and an elbow drop, Paul Orndorff secures the 1-2-3. This week's WWF update focuses on the WWF World Heavyweight Champion Hulk Hogan, or as he's known in Japan,
Ichiban, #1.
The Weebs thank you, Vince. McMahon reaffirms to us that Hulk Hogan has been very successful in defending his WWF World Heavyweight Championship. If by very successful you mean defending it once a month and barely appearing on TV, then Hulkamania is running wild. Cowboy Bob Orton takes on B. Brian Blair next, and I can already tell that this is going to be a great match. It's always awesome when two top-tier wrestlers go head-to-head. The Cowboy may have gone into this match underestimating the skill of Brian, who manages to control the first portion of the match with several technical holds. Miscalculating one of the holds, it allows the Cowboy to gain control of the match for himself, following a shoulder slam. Surprisingly after that, Orton actually keeps the match pretty slow-paced, putting a sleeper hold on Blair in the middle of the ring. When B. Brian Blair does manage to break out of Orton's sleeper, the Cowboy then catches him with several kicks and knees. Blair is a fighter and he mounts a comeback, but Bob Orton is a very smart man, and he reverses a suplex into a small package and gets the 1-2-3. When you're a debuting wrestler, the odds are already stacked against you. The crowd probably has no idea who you are. Your opponent is more than likely more experienced than you are, not to mention you are probably nervous. But when your debut match is against somebody the likes of Dr. D, David Schultz, you might as well just call it a career right then and there. There is absolutely nothing Dr. D has to worry about in this match against the debuting Billy Travis. The Doctor practically goes out of his way to make an example of Billy and even secures a fast second rope diving elbow, which I will give added points for extra flair because the Dr. D spun in midair. Piper's Pit is next, and for the second week in a row and third overall appearance, Captain Lou Albano is once more the guest of Rowdy Roddy Piper. The pair go over a legal document supposedly from Cyndi Lauper's lawyer, and in it the document states that Captain Lou Albano is being ordered to cease posing as Cyndi Lauper's manager immediately.
Engaging an attorney to sue Lou Albano for damages he is causing Cyndi and me by his attempts to pose as her personal manager.
What? Captain Albano is understandably furious at this, and when Rowdy Roddy Piper asks what's Cyndi Lauper's stance in all of this, Captain Lou Albano promises to bring her onto Piper's pit next week to set the record straight.
Dave Dog, I want you to hear this. You're a liar, you're a sneak, and you're a cheat. Everything I've said, I'll have it here. You want to hear it?
I would love her here.
Are you kidding me? Cyndi Lauper, the pop sensation, girls just want to have fun, time after time. She's so unusual, is going to be on WWF Championship Wrestling next week? Talk about can't miss TV. Butcher Vachon takes on Sergeant Slaughter in singles competition next, and the Sergeant is accompanied by his Cobra Corps Commando? Sergeant Terry Daniels. Some loser in the crowd is dressed head to toe in combat fatigues, something he probably found in the clearance bin at Walmart, as he hopes to forcefully get conscripted into the Cobra Corps.
He is certainly more impressive and more awesome than ever. Big John Studd, literally a big part of the Olympic auditorium.
Go ahead. Chant USA, USA. Butcher Vachon is a true Canadian, and that has absolutely no effect on him. Both the Iron Sheik and his manager Ayatollah Blassie appear at ringside and distract the Cobra Corps Commandant, allowing Butcher Vachon to get a brief advantage. The Iron Sheik then begins to spit on Sergeant Terry Daniels standing by with the American flag, acting as Sergeant Slaughter's personal flag bearer, before absolutely beating the tar out of the kid. This prompts Sergeant Slaughter to abandon the match in an effort to run to his comrade's aid. Butcher Vachon wins via countout. USA, more like duh. The sore loser Sergeant Slaughter realizes that he was an infantryman and not a corpsman, so he cannot help Terry Daniels whatsoever. So he heads back to the ring to take out his anger and frustration on the celebrating Butcher Vachon by putting him in the Cobra Clutch. Find and suspend Sergeant Slaughter right now! Mean Gene Okerlund then catches the Cobra Corps Commandant Sergeant Slaughter, hopefully to tell him that he has been fined and suspended indefinitely without pay. Unfortunately, Okerlund doesn't even manage to get a word in edgewise as Sergeant Slaughter hijacks the interview and begins to target the Iron Sheik, spouting off as many 80s military movie quotes that he can.
You maggot scum! Don't you lay a hand on Terry Daniels, my recruit, because I'm gonna tear your head off!
The main event of WWF Championship Wrestling sees another debuting wrestler. This time,
It is Lenny King.
good one, Joe. He's taking on the recently returned Bob Backlund. Vince McMahon and Gene Okerlund apologize to us and inform us that instead of Lenny Keane, we were supposed to get Mr. Fuji, and then promises to let us know why Mr. Fuji is not in the ring. Who's running this promotion? Apparently, Mr. Fuji has not only got a knee injury, but he's stricken with the flu.
You would think I've got a question. This list of infirmities, you would think you'd wonder if he's still breathing.
Shut your mouth, Vince. And for good measure, you too, Gene. Keane makes the mistake of trying to out-wrestle the veteran Bob Backlund and fails hard. Bob Backlund secures the win after he puts Lanny Keane in the crossface chicken wing, and just to show what a Boy Scout he is, actually checks on Lanny after the match. You know, good sportsmanship. This brings an end to the week. In the World Wrestling Federation, Captain Lou Albano is served legal documents threatening to have him sued if he doesn't stop posing as Cyndi Lauper's manager. To counter this and prove that there is no posing going on, the captain has promised to bring Cyndi Lauper onto Piper's Pit and WWF Championship Wrestling next week. The Iron Sheik's guerrilla warfare puts the Cobra Corps into disarray as one of his attacks practically puts Sergeant Terry Daniels out of action, while the Cobra Corps Commandant Sergeant Slaughter can do nothing to help. In Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, all anyone can talk about is the blow-up between NWA television champion Tully Blanchard and his color commentator cohort, Johnny Weaver. I asked what you would do at the beginning of the episode. Do you feel that Tully Blanchard was justified in his actions, or do you feel that he took it a step too far? Let me know your stance down in the comments, but either way, Johnny Weaver is solely to blame for this. When somebody tells you to stop, you damn well better stop. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Tyler Vance Rants. Don't forget to like the video, hit the bell, and subscribe so you are always notified when a new episode releases. You can also follow me on social media, where I hope you'll share the video with your family and friends. That'll be it for this week. I'll see you next week. So long for now. The new Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion, the Mouse Outlaw, he's very small, Jimmy Valiant, emerges much to the